This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, and the real star of today's show is a man who should need no introduction at this point, Glenn McGee. Glenn, nice to see you again. It was about 4 months ago. I think it was back in May. Maybe it was 5 months ago. Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mean, I interviewed you on the internet, but
Yeah.
then we got to meet in person, and I got to be part of your first pro race weekend.
I know, yeah.
And it seems like an eternity ago already in some ways, but I've been following your racing.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing a lot of racing. Mm-hmm. Why don't you just kind of catch us up on things? I mean, how have things been going in general? I mean...
It's been good. So the season, my first race was unbelievable. I think all of the iRacers want another iRacer to do well, and we've all kind of dreamed about it and wondered, what would it be like, how well would we do. I'm obviously in a very competitive series with spec cars in the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup Series, so it's a very difficult, deeply talented series. So, but no, it's been, better than expected from the start, and it's just gotten better and better as we went. We did have a big incident in the rain where someone took me out. Wasn't their fault. They lost the car in the wet. And that lost us essentially 2 races. So we fell back to 34th in the championship. So, but I've had a top 5 at every single event since then, and I led my first race. So my third event, I led at Road America. So it was very cool. So it's been just better and better. I qualified closer and closer to the front. I don't think I've qualified outside the top 5 at any event since then, and finished in the top 5 every race. And I'm competing for podiums now, so it's pretty cool to watch yourself go back later and watch it on TV.
That feels so good.
That's cool, yeah.
So,
really good.
I've always talked to you as a sim racer, and obviously this is a sim racing show, but I mean, you've sort of made that leap now. I mean, again...
I'm in the I got 2 feet in I think, right now.
So I kind of want to talk a different direction. I think a lot of sim racers aspire to be you, aspire to be a professional or semi-pro or an amateur racer.
Yeah.
And that first race, I'm sure you were calm and cool, but how did you feel at your second race just in comparison to your first race?
It always got more and more comfortable. I think one thing I realized, and I didn't realize at the first event, but I race on a single screen on my simulator, and we have the virtual mirror there. That's all my processor will run. And so my brain was, when I did this first race, I felt kind of blind, And because we're racing at a subconscious level, if we're doing our best, we're racing at a subconscious level. And your subconscious will keep track of it's like when you're driving on the road. You know where the cars are around you because of your mirrors. Well, I didn't realize my subconscious was not using my mirrors correctly. So during my first race here, my pace was up there. It was in the top 5 pace. But people could attack me, and I didn't quite know where they were, and when I attacked somebody, I didn't know, where they were, so it really hampered me in that way.
Some spatial awareness.
Spatial awareness was not there, so by my second event, my brain was starting to use that stuff. So, and I think that's by the third event when I took the lead, it was fully, spatial awareness was fully intact at that point. So.
Now, in sim racing, you mentioned it's the virtual mirror.
Yes.
In real life, is it a zen or a feeling thing, or is it using your mirrors properly?
No, I don't consciously look at my mirrors. I just know what's around me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the way to do it. I just look forward. If I'm going down the straightaway and I'm just going through gears and nothing's going on, I might look to see what's going on. But for the most part, I'm, if I'm going into a corner and somebody dive bomb you, which isn't unusual, I will know that it's happening. So without looking in my mirrors, so that's really important. So.
Do you think that can be attributed to, as you get comfortable, more brain can be used to be more aware, and that in that first event you had so much focus and concentration on the task at hand? I mean,
I don't think it was an overload of too much going on. I think what it was I don't know if you've ever gone overseas and driven in the wrong side of the car, right? And I've been to England and done that. Normally you're using your mirror being on your right and it's on your left, and you feel like you don't know what's behind you. And I think it's just your brain, your subconscious says, okay, whatever's here's, that's what's behind you. And to go from a virtual mirror on a screen to 3 mirrors, it just took an adjustment for my brain to go, oh, that's where the mirrors are. Okay, so that's all it was. It was not an overload of data. It was just my brain didn't know, oh, yeah, the virtual mirror's there, and it's not really a virtual mirror anymore, but yeah, so.
Okay, here's a loaded question. Do you think that they need to add a F3 relative screen to real-life racing?
That'd be awesome. I think about that when I'm out there. I wish that my visor had, like, a heads-up display or something. Yeah, they know what's going on. I'd love to have the Delta and all the other stuff, but, yeah, all we have is radio, so where are we? Yeah, where am I at? What are my times, and what are the guys running up front? So, but, yeah, that'd be good to have.
So today we're here for the Global Invitational, and for those of you not following, I just kind of catch people up a little bit. So you win the iRacing online competition.
Yes.
You go on to win the in real life shootout to win the scholarship.
Right.
You get yourself in this series running as a pro racer, and that would be good enough, and that would be great, and that's a great. But this invitational was by invite only. I mean, hence the name Invitational.
Yes.
What do you think put you to the top? I mean, they only selected 20 drivers across the world, 10 from North America, 10 from the rest of the world.
Yeah. Well, we're trying, this series has started. Mazda started the Global MX-5 Cup Series in America, and it's been a staple here since 2006, but it's been, with the new car, they're trying to grow it as a global championship. So they're expanding it into Japan, they're expanding it into Europe, Australia, and any market that they can. And this is sort of the precursor to what the series will always be, where they will have a global race, and you have to qualify to get in. Now, this is an invitational. We're trying to promote the series and show that it's a fun, safe, fast car, just, epic car to drive, epic racing, and the racing's unbelievable. You really, for the value, you're not going to find this value in racing anywhere. It's, sim racing's really the only least expensive way to really go about it at this level. But it's interesting because we're racing, in sim, we're racing at a global level, but it's interesting to almost have that feel in real life now. But I think what put me here was I'm always consistently qualifying up front, and I'm a very clean, I would say, smart driver. At least I think so. But I still managed to get up to the front. So, and hopefully I represent Mazda well. I don't know. So I think that helped get me.
Well, you look good in the Mazda uniform.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right, now. In sim racing, we race hard. When you run in a series, you start to know the guys you're running against.
Yes.
And you will get rivalries, and some of them for good reasons and some of them for bad reasons.
Yeah.
How is that similar or different than it is now that you're running at this level?
I think it's so funny that you say that, because absolutely in sim racing, you begin to develop, okay, I'm with this guy. He's going to throw it off in a little bit, so I'll just pressure him and he'll throw it off. Or, oh, I'm going to pass this guy and I need to be careful. Or this guy's going to dive bomb me. I know he's not going to check up or anything. You got to just let him do it. And there's definitely that in the series. So it's exactly like iRacing, where you start to size everybody up and you approach that driver based on your experiences with them. So. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Do you have anybody in particular who's on your friendly? Let's stay positive here. Anybody on your friendly rivalry? Somebody you just, you want to fight real hard with, but you'll, shake hands no matter what afterwards?
We're all a big family here. I think that's the really great thing about the Mazda series is it is like a big family. We're all trying to help each other out afterwards. We eat together afterwards and hang out, so it's really cool. There's definitely the rivalries, and not so much me, but maybe other people throughout the series. But I've had some really great races actually with Dean Copeland, who is leading the championship, and we started rubbing and race. I mean, it's so funny because he's a veteran and he's always led championships. And at Road America, I went from 8th to 1st, and he was up in the 2nd and 1st spot. And that's kind of when we started to have our own little battles going. But I dive down into him in Canada Corner, and he's trying to rub me, and I'm rubbing him back, and he's kind of saying hey, I'm the veteran here, and I don't want some gamer getting by me. and I'm coming back at him like I'm supposed to be here. So but it's insane how good he is at racing super hard, and we're just rubbing but I feel perfectly comfortable rubbing doors with him. That guy I can do it with. There's a couple guys in the series that you will run them super hard, and you don't worry about it. We did have an incident together, but I think it was for the most part, it's really good, and we always come back and congratulate one another. And so Copeland's great, but any of the guys, Rob Foley, I've run with a lot, so he's another Mazda scholarship driver, and sometimes I'll get up with my teammates, John Dean and Sparky and them. So it's it's fun.
Cool. Now you mentioned it, so I got to ask this question. You mentioned the word gamer. When I was here for the and that was my question. Yeah. So do they still call you the gamer?
Yeah, they call me Alien Gamer. They call me Neo, or any video game reference, or yeah.
Is that going to end up being a lifelong nickname in some way, shape, or form for you?
So I like it. I think it's fun. Yeah, I think it's cool. No, they're all very friendly. I think everybody's likes my story. Likes the virtual to reality story. So, and we're all friendly. So yeah, all these guys mess around with one another constantly. It's just we try and beat each other down. Try and get our egos down.
One up each other any way you possibly can.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a constant competition.
So I've told you and everyone out there, and I consider you my hero. You're living the dream. You're doing what all of us aspire to do.
Thank you.
Following in your footsteps, sort of. There's a new kid in town, Kamil Franczak.
Yeah.
I know you guys have known each other quite some time online. What do you think of this guy? I mean, he's blowing minds just the way you did.
Yeah, he has a very similar background to me. We were on Team Potato together doing some work. So I did some work with his team, and that's the team that he won the MX-5 Cup Euro Championship. So Europeans did, we had the World Championship. They did just a Euro specific, but there were some really hard hitters in there. And I can go down a list of sim drivers and kind of know. I feel like I have a good feel on who would be fast in a real car, because it's hard to make the transition. And just knowing, I think adaptability helped me out a lot, like being very adaptable in the sim. And I feel like he's one of the more adaptable drivers that I've seen. It's certainly an alien level, top level. So I just knew he would be a very fast driver. So I have really high expectations for him, maybe even more so than he had here. And I would talk to him, trying to prep him for this. He's really calm. He's very smart. You can tell. Asks all the right questions, and he's got the perfect mentality for it. A ton of talent, and he's got that adaptability that you need. So I think I've been impressed, but he's not. I've expected him to do well, and I think he's going to continue to do well.
Okay, a little bit of a turn back to sim racing. iRacing just did a new build, and I'm not bringing this up to talk iRacing so much, but in this new build, they have changing track conditions.
Right.
So a track, and they named this track in particular as one that would get dusty overnight.
Oh, well, that's yeah.
So here's my big question. Cool. When you were here back in May, it was a really big weekend. You were here with IMSA. There were a million cars on the track. It was blistering hot that weekend.
Yeah.
Here we are. It's a much different track from what I can see visually. There's not nearly the same rubber on the road.
Yeah.
If there could be dust on the road, if there ever could be a time, it would be now.
If there's dust, I'd probably put it there.
So is there a big difference? I mean, here we are, the same track the second time around.
Well, it's interesting that you would know to even think that, because I wouldn't have thought that. But so we came here and raced, did our race. My car was set up pretty kind of tight, but a good setup when we knew exactly where we wanted the setup. And then we got here for this week, a couple months later, and we've been chasing the setup like crazy. The car is fantastic, but it was the worst setup I've ever had on the car when we first got here. And I just, it's just snapping on entry and understeering at the apex and then snapping on exit. And it was because of how dusty and dirty it was. I couldn't believe it. So we finally have been chasing this thing and got it close to the right for the race. But this track changes a lot. There's a lot of dust that blows across, and a lot of cars pick up dust and throw it on there. And it's cool how iRacing is, I did a Blanc Pain Series race, and it's cool to see the downforce of the cars pull dirt back onto the track,
right.
And you get a lot of that here. Like pretty much every other corner, there's dirt across the track.
Someone's off on every corner, it seems.
So
not all the way off. It's just two wheels usually, but not enough to kick a lot of dust.
It's so, before, when I first started sim racing, I always thought, it'd be cool if they could do, if they could simulate the line like a putting down rubber and dust coming up, and that'll work for rain lines when that comes up as well. But I can't believe they're doing. I can't believe it can process all that and keep track of it, and it's
a lot going on without it just being us driving alone.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and so this track changes a lot. It changed a lot during my race because people were dumping dirt everywhere, and the heat changes. This track will change more than 2 or 3 seconds a lap if from a cold track to a hot track.
Right.
And that's all in the simulator, so it's very good that they have that. And it requires the driver to be. You can't just have a magic setup. You got to get close and then drive the car, which is more of the real life,
Right,
so.
Right. So at this point, 2 times racing here at Mazda. I know you have another race tomorrow.
I do, yeah.
Do you have a favorite corner here?
I like turn 6 because you never know if you're gonna make it out there, but obviously the corkscrew. But honestly, and this was kind of unexpected, but turn 9, which is the corner right after the corkscrew, you're going down a mountain, like I always say, but you're going down a mountain trying to load the car and trying to keep your pace up and squeezing on the throttle, and the rear end is it just wants to come out from under you, and the track tightens up there. It's just one of the scariest corners, and that's why I like it. I mean, it's good.
It's funny you mentioned turn 6. When I asked Kamil that, he said turn 6 because he keeps blowing it.
Oh, really?
And so he figured at some point he'll master it, and then it'll be his bitch. Essentially. Not that wording, but that's my turn
that's
on
translation
it.
You got.
Yeah, that's how I got it.
That's funny.
Do you have a least favorite corner here?
I don't think so. No, the whole track's fun. Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes I miss a shift out of the last turn, and that's more my,
Out of 11?
Out of 11, it's.
And that's brutal.
Well, you're cornering. You're trying to get your shift while having this incredible amount of G-forces. We're running these BF Goodwrench tires, and they are way more grippy than most racing tires. So you have all these G-forces, and you're trying to make the gear. Normally, the second and third's an easy one, but it's you're sort of off kilter, so your references aren't the same. So it's easy to do. A lot of guys are doing the second, the fifth.
Right.
And when you do that, you're like, oh, but it's not the corner. It's just,
It's the way you've ended up driving it this
weekend.
Exactly. I was up there near the corkscrew watching guys come through there, and I could hear every single car, like, literally bottoming out. At least that's what I think I was hearing. I thought I was hearing the front left bottoming out as they really dropped down the hill.
Yeah.
Can you feel that?
Yeah, you absolutely can, and you sort of plan for it. So when you crest that hill, you're coming off the brakes and rotating the car under the brakes, and then you're applying throttle to try and settle it. And the car's it starts to pitch almost too much, but you're planning for that compression to kind of give you that understeer. So you come in there a bit oversteery, but that understeer compression is sort of pre-planned.
Right.
It's built into your,
So you basically start the whole sequence at the top.
Yes.
But unlike most corners, it actually takes a while to play out.
It does, especially there. You have so much going on. So, you brake for there, and you're over a crest. So you're having to adjust your brakes because you're taking weight off the car. And then you have to go back hard, and then you have to bleed off because you're trying to rotate the car, and then you're trying to stabilize the rear, and then the track drops away from you, and if you have the wrong angle, then it's really easy to lose time if you don't have enough angle or if you have too much angle, and so it's actually a precision corner.
One of my impressions, I've never driven here in real life, but one of my impressions in the sim is that this track helps you with camber in the corner more than any track I've ever driven in my whole life.
It does.
It almost drives like it's a slot car track.
Yeah.
Is that the way it feels out there?
It was totally how you use it here. A lot of people will, when they come here, they'll overslow the corner and then try and get a good run out. But like you say, it's banked on exits and stuff. So I run the car, I maximize the run into the corner, and you're going too fast if the corner were flat, but the banking picks you up. So you actually don't get to throttle a lot of the times till you get to the apex and you squeezing it on afterwards because you're just trying to flow speed in.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It catches you. And
is it really difficult to pass here compared to other tracks?
Well, it's the draft works here, but it's not as big here. There's not as many opportunities. But actually, if you get a good run out of 3, you could set up a pass going in the 5. That's my favorite place to pass, and you can pass inside and outside. It's actually a really great passing place. You can pass in the 6 actually, but you don't want to do that because you'll mess your race up.
It's hard enough.
It's hard enough. I made some actually outside passes going into the corkscrew, which I didn't think would work, but they sure work, so it's one of my favorite passes.
Nice.
But I would say the easiest pass is in the 5, and there's an opportunity into turn 2, but it's actually harder than you would think. 5 is actually an easier place to pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to start wrapping things up here, but so I want to kind of get back in the head.
Yeah, okay.
So you were here 5 months ago.
Yes.
You had a great weekend.
Yeah.
Now you go home, and I'm sure you decompress and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back a second time, was there anything like on your list, like, well, last time I did this, and I damn well better not do that again, or I need to improve here in particular?
Well, obviously there was a lot going on that weekend, and I was rushing everything, and so certainly calming. I got those bugs out by the second race, but the only problem I really had was missing a shift, but it's kind of par for the course with all the drivers I've found out. But I always wanted to prove, just be a little more precise and run up front. I think our pace right now is front pace. So I actually had an issue in qualifying, which essentially I had to come into the pits and it got red flagged, and I wasn't able to get the lap in that I wanted. So it'll be fun coming up through the field. I mean, that's the fun part. But I'd like to be in the top 5 or possible podium here because it's one of those tracks that it's very difficult to run fast here, and I like the challenge of it, and I like the challenge of trying to win and podium here. So I don't know where I'm starting tomorrow, actually, but I would think 7th, maybe, something like that.
I heard something about secondary lap time or something affecting.
Yeah, so for race 2 will be our second fastest lap.
Right.
So I didn't get the laps in I wanted, but they were consistently good, and I probably more consistent than most drivers. So I think that'll bump me up.
Right. If you were to judge yourself from back Mazda, 5 months ago to today, not here at Mazda necessarily, but what do you think you've improved the most as a driver?
I think, when I came here, I didn't know how to approach the other drivers. Should I be more aggressive? I think initially I was not aggressive enough. Do I play it smart? What I've learned is it's actually a combo, much like iRacing. I think you really want to play it smart for most of the race, but there are times when we get a lot of yellow flags, or sometimes you can run down the leaders. If you're on a track that you think you can run down the leaders, play it smart, but be very aggressive when the opportunity comes up. Don't worry about losing time when you make a pass, because you probably can run the leaders back down. Hopefully. But I think my racecraft has always been one of my strong points, and I think my adaptability in racecraft in sim racing is my strong point, and it took a while to get it to the level that I feel like it is in sim racing now in real life. I think I've developed a lot in that, and I'm working with John Dean, he's the most successful MX-5 Cup driver in the world. His stats, he holds every stat. He is people may not believe this, but he's actually like approaching Formula 1 level, just amazing driver. And a lot of people would say that who know him, but so I get to compare my data to him, and we're getting really close on everything. So I think that's really cool to see. And he's actually a hero of mine, so it's cool to be on the team with him.
Mentor then,
It's so cool. So
all right, are you a better sim racer or a better real pro racer?
I think in sim racing, I've had a lot of poles and wins, but I feel like I think I'd like to be a better pro racer. I think I'm headed that way.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to guess that the answer to which is more fun, it's probably being a pro racer.
I don't want to knock the sim racing because it's funny, and I've talked to some other drivers, some pro drivers that go back and they start sim racing. Because you're racing at a subconscious level, your brain gets the same, happiness from it, the enjoyment from it. So I think for me, I like the challenge. I like to go out and get my butt kicked, really. I don't like to get pole and run away with it, honestly. Right. So that's why I do iRacing, because, you have Gregor Hutu and Christian Shimshak and all the amazing drivers out there. It's just as fun. I think there's a lot of fun to both. And obviously, so this is maybe more fun, but there's a lot more hassle to it. Whereas a sim racing, you just, you know what, I'm going to do a race, jump in your seat and go at it with a couple buddies from around the world, So I think you can get I think a lot of people say, oh, well, I want to be a pro racer and I'm just a sim racer. But I think people need to realize that it's actually a lot of fun. You know, the competition is very gratifying.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, you should enjoy it.
I'm really glad to hear that answer, actually. So, I mean, I know it's been a busy schedule. Do you get to sim race very much anymore?
No, I feel like I'm losing my, it's like I hardly get to get on there. I've been on the road 5 weeks, actually, just straight, which it's funny how much I'm starting to love to be on the road. I actually sleep in the rig, which is one of my favorite things. And I know I showed you the picture where I'm sleeping above my race car. So I sleep, my teammate John Dean sleeps across the way, and we sleep in the rig and at the track, and it's the coolest thing. But I've been doing events for Mazda around the nation. I went and surfed Hurricane Swell last weekend with one of my teammates and to train for this, and then flew here. Well, I mostly it was really big waves, but sadly, I don't get to do it as much. So I'm with Radicals Online right now, and we're running in the Blancpain series. So, it's professional sim racing. My teammates, Jeremy Boutaloop and Mac Backham and, Sylvain and all
Jeremy,
that.
who could have been here today.
Oh, I know. Amazing driver. An amazing sim driver, too. One of the best racecraft in all of sim drivers. He has some of the best racecraft and unbelievably consistent and fast. And he actually helps me. We'll get on and train for real events. He's like, hey, you want to get on and I'll run the hell out of you.
Awesome. Oh, that's so great. And so many of the tracks you've run this season have been in iRacing.
Oh, the tracks we've run are unbelievable track. Watkins Glen and Mossport and Road America. It's just
so jealous.
Oh, so cool.
I'm not supposed to do that in an interview, but I am so jealous. Well, Glenn, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure seeing you. We didn't even talk about the race, real quick.
Okay.
So how did today's race go?
Well, today's race was good. So we had race 1 on Saturday, and this has been a hard weekend because we came here. There's so much dust on the track. The track kept changing on us, and we thought we had the setup coming here, and we've been chasing it the whole time. The car has been snapping on me everywhere, understeering, on throttle, off corners, just all over the place. It's been fun to drive, but it's like, you're sideways everywhere, but
not necessarily the fastest.
But you're not going, you're not going straight enough. So, so we, really confused on that, and we finally, I think, nailed down something that's, consistent, and thankfully for the first race. So I had a very bad qualifying. I ended up having something. I did a little bit of off tracking and some dirt tracking. Apparently, this is a dirt track, and I had a piece sort of hanging off the car from that, and got called into the pits. And the session got red flagged because there was an incident. So I lost my qualifying. It was the worst qualifying position I've ever had. So I had to start 11th. It's the first time outside of the top 10.
Oh, wow.
Which was fun. So I wanted to see what it was like to start back there. And, this is a fun event. And it's cool to race with all these international drivers. So I had a great start, a mega start. I went 4 wide next to the wall across the start-finish line. And then got a really good run out of 2, but missed at the worst opportunity, went from 2nd to 5th. And then I'm just looking down, looking for 3rd for too long. I wasn't even looking at what was going on.
You missed it so bad you thought you lost
it? I was like, where did my... Yeah, so all the guys I passed went back around me, but then I got back by them and was holding on to sort of the 2nd-tier pack and felt like I was getting slowed down a little bit. I was trying to work with who I was with, but I thought we were losing too much time, so I made a move going in the 9, and it turned out taking a couple of corners to get it done, and we lost the leaders. They were running more or less the same pace that I was running, so I was just kind of stuck in no man's land. But I ended up finishing 7th, so it was good.
Running the right pace, so that leaves you.
Yeah, I ran down the guys in front of me barely, but it was so slow to run them down. Everybody had awesome pace, but it was a fun race. Yeah.
Cool. And so one more race tomorrow, and then back to the regular season for you.
Yeah, so this is like kind of a non-pressure fun event, which is cool. So I'll run, I believe I'll probably start around 7th place and try and hook up with my teammates who have qualified up front. And then after this, we go to the Road Atlanta. We'll have my last race of this season during the Petit Le Mans. So I'm excited to go there. And it's probably going to be one of my favorite tracks, and it should be very special. And I'm hoping to get on the podium or win.
That would be great.
I've been very close.
That would be very great. Yeah. Well, Glenn, thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing you again. I love hanging out with you, and please get back to sim racing because I don't even interview real drivers.
You don't anymore, do you?
No.
Yeah, so I'll be back on there when the season's winding down. So.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks again.
Great. Good to see you. Yeah.